Today, we're diving into something really cool, a new analytics engine that's taking a whole world of scattered conservation data and turning it into real planet-saving action. It's a story about how technology is finally letting us see the big picture, visualizing threats, tracking progress, and making smarter decisions than ever before. Let's get into it.
You know, when we think about saving nature, our minds usually jump to big national parks, right? But what about all the other critical places for biodiversity? That's the huge challenge we're talking about today. How do we actually see and support the massive conservation work happening outside of those official park boundaries?
Well, the answer comes with a bit of a mouthful of a name, OCMs. It stands for Other Effective Area-Based Conservation Measures. But forget the jargon. Just think of it as a way to finally recognize all those other vital places, like forests managed by local communities, private nature reserves, or ancestral lands that are getting real long-term conservation results. And there are thousands of these sites all over the world. But here's the problem. For decades, all their crucial information was locked away in different reports, different databases, on different continents. Their stories were totally disconnected, so you literally couldn't measure their combined impact or see how all these pieces of the conservation puzzle fit together.
This is a total game changer. We're making a huge shift. We're moving from the old way, where everything was scattered and we had to rely on stories and best guesses, to a brand new data-driven approach. Instead of a mess, we're building a single, central platform that lets us measure what's actually working and gives us powerful insights.
So how do you even begin to make that leap from scattered to centralized? Well, it all starts with building the right tool for the job. And that tool is the OECM management system.
At its core, this is a web-based platform designed to handle the entire life of an OECM. I mean, from the moment a community submits its area for consideration through a really tough validation process, all the way to getting it officially published and on the map.
And this goes way beyond just drawing a border on a map. The system digs deep, capturing rich data across 11 key areas. We're talking about the specific wildlife being protected, the real threats on the ground, who's in charge, and even how fair and durable the whole effort is. It is incredibly thorough.
But, collecting tons of data is only half the story. The real magic happens when you can actually make sense of it all. And that is where the analytics dashboard comes in. This thing is the brain of the entire operation. So first up, the dashboard neatly organizes everything into 8 core analysis sections. This gives us a clear way to explore everything from biodiversity to the biggest threats.
Then it brings all that data to life with over 25 interactive charts. This lets us actually see the patterns and trends that would otherwise be totally hidden in the numbers. And under the hood, the engine is constantly running the numbers on more than 50 key metrics, turning all that raw data into intelligence you can actually use. Okay, so with all this power, what can we actually find out? Let's ask a really important question. What are the biggest dangers these conservation areas are really up against? The dashboard can tell us, just like that.
Check this out. This is a perfect example. The dashboard crunches all the threat data submitted from the field and sorts it using a global standard. And bam, right away, we can see that the biggest pressures across all these sites are things like unsustainable logging or fishing and the expansion of agriculture.
And it gets even smarter. We don't just see what the threats are, we see how serious they are. This chart breaks down the severity, showing us what proportion of threats are high-level emergencies. This means we're not just identifying problems, we're figuring out which fires we need to put out first. Of course, conservation is all about place. So the dashboard has this incredible interactive map that plots every single OECM. For the first time, we can actually see the whole chessboard, all the spatial patterns and connections between these sites. And this map is smart. You can see the markers are color-coded by who runs the place, so at a glance you can spot the community-run areas versus the private ones or indigenous territories. And you can just click on any point on that map and immediately pull up key info about it. Okay, this is all really cool tech, but how does it actually help someone on the ground make a better decision? Let's walk through a quick, practical example to see how this data leads directly to action. All right, put yourself in the shoes of a policymaker. Your mission is to find the absolute best of the best community-led conservation sites, the ones that are both highly effective and meet all international standards. You need this list, maybe to send them more funding or to study them as models for success. Now, what used to be a research nightmare is now like 3 clicks. Seriously, in the dashboard, you just apply 3 filters.
First, you select Community Conserved Area. Next, you set a minimum score for management effectiveness so you only see the top performers. And finally, you just tick a box to make sure they're fully compliant with global biodiversity criteria. And boom, just like that, the system sifts through everything. In this example, it takes 25 potential sites and instantly narrows it down to the 5 that meet every single one of those tough requirements. In seconds, you have your actionable shortlist. That's the power of this.
So you can see how this works on a practical level. But now let's zoom out and think about what this really means for the future of conservation on a global scale, because the implications are huge.
What this shows us is that this engine isn't just for managing a few local projects. This is a strategic tool for an entire countries. It gives them a concrete way to measure and report on their progress towards massive international goals, like the ones set by the Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD.
And a chart like this one from the dashboard really drives that point home. It shows the whole network and how many sites meet all 4 of the key CBD criteria. A country's leader can look at this one chart and see, at a glance, what percentage of their sites are hitting the mark, which are close, and which ones need more help. This kind of strategic summary was basically a pipe dream before now.
Which really leaves us with one big, fascinating question to think about. For the very first time, we have the tools to see and measure the true combined impact of thousands of different conservation efforts, big and small. So the question is no longer if we can see the whole picture. The question is, once we can, what are we going to discover about the best ways to protect our planet?